Private property versus redistributive state. It's always kind of been odd to me that the people who believe in freedom oftentimes cannot articulate the importance of private property in keeping them free. Tyrants have no such handicap. Tyrants can always explain to you why private property has to be abolished. In fact, Karl Marx said, and this is a quote, "The theory of the communists may be summed up in a single sentence: abolition of private property." Our founding fathers understood that private property is essential to personal freedom and liberty because private property enables an individual to gain independence and therefore freedom from the state by accumulating land and money and wealth. So your land and money and wealth is sort of a buffer between you and the government. It allows you to make choices that you can make to protect yourself. Property is a manifestation of a person's physical and intellectual labor, and to seize a person's personal property is to enslave him. If you don't have a right to your time, to your labor, and to your income, you're going to tell me you're free? That's laughable. John Adams, this is another quote. John Adams said, "The moment the idea is admitted into society that property is not as sacred as the laws of God, and that there is not a force of law and public justice to protect it, anarchy and tyranny commence." However, one of the hallmarks of progressivism is the concept of redistribution. The idea that your money and property are only yours if the government doesn't determine that there is a higher or better use for it. Now, several years ago, James Buchanan, the Nobel Prize winner in economics at George Mason University, was asked to speak to the Cato Institute in Washington on the 250th anniversary of James Madison's birth. Dr. Buchanan made the following comment. He said, "A free society cannot simultaneously exist with a redistributive state." So when Barack Obama is telling Joe the plumber, we got to spread it around, he's playing his hand of cards there. You know where he is on the political spectrum. You know that he's opposing a free society, because a free society cannot simultaneously exist with a redistributive state. Let's talk about property, and I'll give you an example here. We had in the last gubernatorial election a candidate who said, "If you elect me governor, I'm going to put 400,000 more acres off limits for development." Well, when that governor's Secretary of Natural Resources came to speak at a group I host in Richmond once a month, I asked him, "Can you provide me a list with all the property the state owns?" No. "Can you provide me a list of how much it's worth?" No. If you don't know what property you own, how do you know you need 400,000 more acres? But the problem here, and I'm not accusing the governor of anything, but this comes down to, do we want the property to be in the hands of the government? And every single year, they put more money in the budget to buy up more private property. There are states out west that 60 to 80% of the total land in the state belongs to one government or the other. You know, Glenn Beck one time, and I don't know whether this is true, I'm just repeating what I saw. Glenn Beck, it was a great moment. He put up a map that was shaded in of all the property the government owned. And then he put an overlay on top of that that was a map of where the resources in the United States were. And it was a perfect match. I don't think that's by accident. Moving on to from property.